When I say I've flown in a Yank from overseas, he came from my wonderful state, the most beautiful state in Australia, Tasmania. But you might pick up that he's from the States. I want to invite Jack. Jack was very involved in American politics and he's appreciated what we've got here. He wants to talk to you about that because we're heading for an American system if we allow this to go through.
Thank you, Peter. My name's Jack Sonnemann. I'm here representing the Australian Federation for the Family. How many of you are kind of sick of political correctness? Have you heard the latest from political correctness in Canberra? This morning on the radio, the Canberra Times, the Canberra radio reports that the Canberra Raiders have had to change their name. They don't like the association with pillaging and violence and theft. So now they're just going to be known as the Raiders. We have to stop looking to the leaders of our government to live our lives for us, and we need to let them know that they work for us and we expect them to do what we want them to do. I moved here to Australia 32 years ago. You do not want the American system here. Malcolm Turnbull wants a republic just like America. Is that what you want? Malcolm Turnbull wants to have more power in the hands of two parties, of two people. I want to see more hands in the power of people like you instead of party politicians. In America, they have two choices, Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. Good Lord in heaven, give us something better than that here. Amen? When I came here, listen, the politicians were allowing Playboy and Penthouse and Hustler and People and Picture and other porn magazines to be sold to your children legally. I think that is wrong and they shouldn't be sold to children. I think children should be protected from unrestricted access to pornographic imagery. The politicians of all persuasions disagreed with me. We had to fight like tooth and nail, but we got the law changed in Tasmania, working with an independent in the upper house, to make it illegal to sell smut to children, illegal to display it to children, illegal to have them go into shops and open it up. We changed the law through people like you, not the politicians. We did the same thing here in New South Wales, working with an honourable lady, Honourable Dr. Marlene Goldsmith. We changed the law. The same thing in Victoria. We changed the law because people spoke to the politicians and said, for God's sake, do the right thing. Anybody here from Queensland should be very upset that your government in Queensland puts Penthouse magazine in a legal category that's accessible and sale to children. They cannot realize that Penthouse magazine is not suitable for children and they allow their unrestricted access. I think if people know that it's bad and do it anyway, they should have some kind of legal penalty for that. Our children need to be protected from unrestricted access to pornographic imagery. The internet, the porn on the internet. In the UK, there's a piece of legislation going through that says if you want your internet service provider to provide you with pornographic material, you have to apply for it. If you don't apply for it and they send it to you anyway, that's against the law and some kind of legal penalty will apply. Do any of you have a use for pornographic imagery on your computers? Some do. Some do. Some like their porn, especially Australian men. They love their porn. It degrades women, demeans women, dehumanizes sex, and they love that. But most of us do not have a use for it, and we don't like to have to buy a filter or like to have to protect our children from the imagery popping up on our very home computers. So we want the government to pass a law that says if you want internet porn, you have to apply for it. Is that not a good idea? That's not censoring anything, it's not banning anything, it's not burning anything. It's protecting those of us who recognize pornography as harmful as doing something about it. Even the upper house, what we have done, the government in Australia approved, the government in Australia of all parties approved X-rated material on pay TV. They approved it. X-rated, hardcore, obscene pornography. They approved it on pay TV. Does anyone here approve it on pay TV? Some do. I don't. I brought a lady over from America because an independent senator in the upper house of federal parliament, an independent senator, not with a political party, not with Malcolm Turnbull's party. By the way, Malcolm Turnbull set up Playboy magazine here in Australia. We have bankrupted Playboy magazine here in Australia. Australian Playboy no longer exists. because people like you wrote our letters. In fact, there's an old codger over here in a straw hat sitting in the chair that has some of my material to give to anybody that goes and gets it. He's sitting over there in the chair with his beautiful young wife. The man, Warren, right in his hand. He can give you all this material. There's a DVD for you to have, all kinds of stuff for you to have. But we want an independent senator in the Parliament, in the Senate, came to me and said, Jack, I'm on this committee looking at pay television. We're going to allow it. It's already going to become can we do something about it? I brought a lady out from America. She gave testimony before the Senate. And the Senate, after seeing the truth about the harm pornography causes, they banned X-rated material on pay TV in Australia. Don't tell me it can't be done. Don't tell me ordinary, moral family members, thinking humans, cannot change their culture. Because we brought one lady over here to present the truth to the committee. The committee saw how harmful pornography is to any culture that embraces it, and they banned X-rated on pay TV. Australia is the only country in the Western world that has pay TV, but no X-rated. Because of people like you writing to their legislators, speaking into the picture, because of people like me dealing with some of these, quote, pesky independent senators that Malcolm Turnbull and the media hate so rabidly. Do you know that there's a child pornographer here in Australia named Henson who takes pictures of naked little 12-year-old girls, hangs them on the wall, and calls them art? He goes into our schools with the headmistress's position and picks out little girls with their parents' position and photographs them with no clothes on and calls it art. Malcolm Turnbull says that's fine, that's great, that's art. Even Kevin Rudd said his material is reprehensible and despicable. I agree, child pornography is reprehensible and despicable, and I would imagine most of you do too. Malcolm Turnbull says it's art. Those are the kind of people we're dealing with, and those are the kind of people that want to get more and more and more power into their hands, just like they have in America with the two-party system. We do not need to accept that here. Your voice needs to count, and if you think it does need to count with me, get a hold of my material from the young man in the straw hat. Thank you, Peter.
Please understand, we've got lobbyists, we've got minor parties, we've got left and right, and I've worked very hard to make this about democracy, and it is about democracy. Whether you agree with Jack or you don't agree with Jack, whether you're on left or right, what you can agree about is that we need to keep the power in the hands of the people and not in the hand of politicians. Would you agree? Now, we don't want a Trump-Hillary race in Australia. This is not about Malcolm Turnbull and Bill Shorten. This is about a system that has been set up to allow your voice and my voice to be heard in the State's House. The Senate is called the State's House. You have 12 senators from New South Wales. We have 12 senators from Tasmania. Every state does. And when a government tries to pass legislation, it must go through the filter of the Senate. The Senate is there to represent the states. What this legislation does is it says we want to hand the power back to the Canberra elites, back into the hands of three parties, Labor, Liberal and the Greens. We want the power to stay there and not with the people. It is a system that was in actual fact designed to decentralise power from Canberra and give it to you. Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think it's a good thing to leave the power in your hands? Sorry, I don't think the new legislation is a very bad thing. But that's why we're standing today to say no to the government. Can I hear no? We stand for democracy, and we will say to a government, you cannot take the power from the people. Now, every one of us here that have spoken represents a portion of the community of Australia. Every speaker, from Kim to Jack to William to everyone that has spoken, represents a portion of the Australian community. I spoke to Dia Muhammad of the My Peace Muslim Party, and I asked him to come, and I said, you represent a portion of the Australian community. Democracy is about representation. So you are welcome to come from all religions, all creeds, all political ideologies. And that's what we want to maintain in Australia.
Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye for now.